Speaker.
I call John Hayes.
Mr Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to support the Prime Minister's speech and his vision for this country. And I bring a message from the Wairarapa and provincial New Zealand because the message was given to me very clearly over Christmas. The message was, we got rid of those Labour jokers because we want change. Because we want change. So I stand here tonight, Mr Speaker, as a very strong supporter of the visionary statement of our Prime Minister. John Key and his government is trying to do something very ambitious. He's trying to be more ambitious in its way than that attempted by Sir Roger Douglas or by Ruth Richardson. What he's trying to do in his vision for this country, and his aim is to engage in economic reform, but in such a way that the whole country comes with him. The whole country comes with him, Mr Speaker. In contrast, let me say that Labour lost office because it spent its last 9 years locked in the tail of the 20th century. It had no forward vision, it had no ambition. Mr Speaker, contrary to those who would prefer to spend their life cushioned in a waterbed, the key to New Zealand becoming wealthier lies in enticing all New Zealanders, not just the elite and the well-off, but all New Zealanders to think about a common future working together. Now, I listened to the words of the past Minister of Education, Chris Carter, and the wonderful thing that he had done for the people of New Zealand and why we didn't need national standards. I'd like to tell that ex-minister that I was in Dannevirke on Saturday afternoon, tracking back to Greytown from the 150th birthday celebrations in Waipawa. And I ran into a couple of young boys on the street in Dannevirke. Well, actually, they were in a small cafe. And I said to one of them, what's 6 multiplied by 6? And I did. And you know what the answer was? Do you know what the answer was, Chris Carter? 50! 50! This is a boy who will be 12 next month, and he doesn't know 6 times 6. But I tell you, it gets worse. I then said to them, well, we don't know 6 times 6. How about 2 multiplied by 3? Do you know they couldn't answer that question? And I tried to make it even easier. I then said to them, look, what is 2 multiplied by 2? This is the legacy that your government has left us to sweep up from. The dismal truth in this country is that those boys and their parents have been living in a fool's paradise for the last 9 years, and they've been protected. They've been protected by the spending patterns of Helen Clark and Mr Michael Cullen, who increased government spending over that 9 years by 45%. Let's not just talk in percentages. I heard on the weekend from a recently retired public service, and I don't want to embarrass them by mentioning their name, that over the past 5 years of their tenure it's New Zealand Aid. Over the last 5 years, their staff numbers have gone from 250 to 500 staff. And my constituents in the Wairarapa, Parakura Horomia's constituents in the Wairarapa, are picking up the bill for this nonsense. This is government spending out of control. And that's the result of that, is that we have bled our skill base to Australia and to other countries. Prime Minister Key has enunciated an ambitious, measurable, long-term goals for all New Zealanders to strive for. All of us are crucial to achieving these goals, but each of us must help paddle the waka until we reach the targets of John Key's aspiration. His vision has 6 drivers. First, a world-class tax system. Second, better public services. Third, improved education skills. Fourth, investment of infrastructure, as you're seeing on the Rimataka Hill right at the moment. Regulatory reform, get rid of red tape and innovation. We need a tax system that creates incentives for people to work hard, to improve themselves, and that encourages their saving and boosts the productivity of investments. Mr. Speaker, the aims of John Key's tax reform will, first of all, create incentives to people to work hard, to improve their skills and to get ahead. It will encourage them to save because we borrow far too much money outside New Zealand. And the tax system needs to be fair to all New Zealanders. I was very pleased that the Prime Minister ruled out a land tax, a comprehensive capital gains tax, or a risk-free return method for taxing residential investment properties. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to changing the way property is taxed. We're committed to reducing personal income tax. There will be no major changes to working for families, and I'll say that again for the benefit of all of those beneficiaries. There will be no major changes to working for families, and we will be compensating. I've heard a lot this afternoon from various Labour Party speakers who are trying to put petrol on a fire that doesn't exist because they're saying GST is going to put costs on all of us. Well, let me say loud and clear, people on low incomes will be compensated for any GST increases if that compensation is required. If that is required. And there is no fairer tax. I was told all weekend out in my electorate, this is the fairest thing you can do, John. We're supportive. Yes, I was. I was told in Waipakarau. I was told in Waipawa. I was told in Dannevirke, and I was told in Paeatua, not to mention Greytown. Mr. Speaker, the public service will continue to require savings because we want to also, because we're spending 45% more on public services than we were spending 9 years ago. We want to see stronger performance from government agencies, and we want to see an improvement in the way Crown assets are being managed. And when I see the people that Labor stacked Crown entities with on their boards without business skills, there's a very fast way of improving the return on those assets by putting in new boards. Mr. Speaker, I remember when Labor signed off a formal policy in 2005 to increase CEO salaries in the public service by 5% a year for 5 years. Well, let me tell this House, we cancelled that arrangement in 2009. But by 2007, the second year I spent in this Parliament, there was a 375% increase in the number of public servants earning $100,000 or more since Labor came to power in 1999, and the constituents in my electorate found this absolutely abhorrent. They didn't understand. Mr. Speaker, the Labor government let bureaucracy get out of control in this country in the 9 years that it was in office, and the public service grew by 50%, or 30,702 people in 1999 to 45,934 in June of 2008. Our focus this year will be in science and technology and on research grants, and in the context of my work in the foreign affairs, trade and defence area, I am very pleased that we will be signing trade agreements this year with Malaysia, with Hong Kong and with the Gulf Cooperation Council states, while working on trade agreements with Korea, India and I hope America. Mr. Speaker, we have a vision for this country. The Prime Minister has articulated it, and I am absolutely confident that not only members of the Labor Party but the whole country will get behind his program and will pursue that vision and its breadth and its very, very wide base. Mr. Speaker, I am quite sure that this country is going to achieve Australia's growth targets, or Australia's levels of income within the next 10 to 15 years, and I look forward to being a part of the process that creates a step change in this country which gets us in that direction. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.